This is Thursday, August 10th, 2023. The time is 7:04. This is in conservation. Chairman is Carl Hummel. There's themselves.
Love sweet. I command the live.
Peter.
Peter Coffin on the phone. I can hear most of it if you use the microphone. Thank you.
Okay. Bottom of the microphone for you are. Okay.
You hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
I'll take a survey. I know what Jack and Mike are here for. Neil, are you here for a particular agenda item?
He's with me and
Oh.
Jack
Oh, okay.
on the house.
Okay.
Yep.
I will go to do the two items dealing with, on Southwick Street, Mike and McCarty, because I expect them to take her on. Both of these are building permit things. One of them is from last November, we're catching up on, and the other one is a recent one. So I'll go to 11 Southwick Street. We're going to review the as-built plan with Mike Riccardi and take any action. So 11. The situation here is that last November, there was a building permit for this residential property. Unfortunately, it cracks, and so the Concom had a review of it until last month. I went and looked and said, you know, the septic work is within 200 feet of the wetlands, of a pond, which would make it jurisdictional, but we're not going to make a big deal about it because he is in the last 25 feet of the 200-foot buffer. The work already has been completed. And so what I've asked Mike to do in this particular case is to demonstrate that with an as-built that the septic system is now installed. He's got some photographs as well. So first we have the Mass GIS for the parcel. You can see here, this is
Notice of intent. Filed up.
no, because they patched it last November. And since the work's already done, I don't want to builder and the septic passing going through the paper. But I want to set an example if we're catching it now. And I want to be something on the record that this particular parcel, Thomas looked at it and said we're okay. So you can see that there's a pond here, the 200-foot buffer goes zip, and is almost about to where the septic system is going to be backyard. So we have the as-built for the property, and it shows here's the house, septic system is off.
Back of the house? Is it back of the house?
Yes,
Okay, can we go back to the plan and see where the house is?
yes. So you can see here's the house, the septic system is right about here, which is going to be just at the outside edge of
Kind of work.
so you want back as well so you can look at the septic one.
Yeah.
And what has been happening in the past 2 weeks that we'll need to get done Friday is the hydro seeding and grass funds washed out. Mike, I believe you can confirm that.
Yeah, it was that torrential rainstorm act this past Monday.
Yeah.
So that's the pictures I sent you. We kind of readjusted hay bales and put a little more loom in some of the little washouts. They were minor, but it was enough to move around some of the hydro seeding. So we have new hydro seeding coming in either on Friday or Monday to respray the areas that might have lost some seed due to the heavy rain.
So my intent for bringing this up and mentioning it so that we have a record in the agenda and eventually the minutes that we did catch this and we did.
Sure.
So my recommendation is that we take no further action this. It's our fault because we didn't actually, last November, we had something more with a notice of intent or a negative determination. Negative, but that.
Is it possible to, pick up a good app? Down. People. Can
Grades.
the grades, but what's there?
Yes,
Right there, we're looking at,
the,
one. Correct.
switching to the latest 2021.
That's all still wooded right there,
Yes,
between house
right.
and the lawn.
There's, since the work was all done, this area, there's nothing.
That's- Well, I'll agree with that.
Okay,
Yeah, it seems as if since the woodbury hasn't been disturbed, the likelihood of a forest map would be there so that any disturbed area would have a much better chance of getting caught up before it gets down to the wetlands.
yep, and they're very actively trying to stop erosion by getting the dirt high receding.
Pretty good.
So since there's no action being taken, I don't need a motion, it's just going to be recorded.
Okay.
The next one is going to be that he's also here for is 5 Southwick. Hold on, I copied this in the wrong place. That. Five Southwick Avenue, this is a commercial building permit. The Southwick Zoo wishes to build a carousel, merry-go-round. And
You use live animals?
I don't know, that'd be kind of interesting,
Yeah.
keeping them on the pole. So, so here is a mass GIS of, 5 Southwick. And don't need you. Let's make you big. And there's something very interesting here. The wetlands is the pond here. There's a stream going down here. It's the Still Corner Brook. And what the US topological map and therefore Mass GIS shows that there's a unnamed tributary coming into here. There's a little pond here. However, in the owners talked to people who lived on the site for years, and they're saying, so here's the topological map, and you can see there's a pond here, and it shows there's a stream coming down here. However, if you look at 2015, there's no stream. You look at the most recent one, there's no stream. There's a little pond here, but there's nothing coming out down this way.
That's Southwick Zoo?
That's the zoo, yes. And so what we just got sent in today is here is an aerial photograph. Last year, they built this restaurant. This also the street there.
If you, as you're going across there, Carl, you'll see a big V-shaped piece of concrete. It's right there on the right side of your screen. That is the Sky Fari ride, and the ride is supposed to go to from that point down to, you see the little road, and it's going to be closest to the road. The little pond you're seeing is an alligator exhibit that they maintain.
Yep. So let me go back to that. As you can see, there's nothing coming out of the alligator pond going down this road to the other tributary. So this again would not be something that we take a motion on. This is the building permit request. If the Concom agrees that there's no there, then I would just go and approve the building permit and say it's not jurisdiction for us.
Where do they want comparison? Where dead trees are or?
Let me go back to. He sent this,
Well, is this a determination of applicability or?
no, this is a building permit request. And what I'm doing with the building permits is I'm taking the little tape measure on Mass GIS, and if you're within 100 feet of the wetland or 200 feet of a body of water or stream, I put a hold on it and negotiate with the person. This is the second or third time I've done this. And if they're able to demonstrate, no, I'm not in a wetlands area, they don't need an NOI. If, for example, right now we feel that there were evidence of a stream there after watching the videos, then we would ask them to either do a negative determination or and but I think that the evidence at this point is that we don't need to ask the applicant, the owner of the property to go through that expense. They have historical, they talk to the family members going back 80 years saying there's no stream there, it's always dry. And it does look as if there's the alligator pond and there's no outflow from it.
How's the water get in the pond?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Okay, Mike, can you answer that?
Was the question, how does the water get into the pond?
Yes.
So right next to that is a big blue pond too. When you see on the aerial, that's really a flamingo area. Those two ponds are maintained daily by the zoo, pumping out what they need to pump out, pumping in what they need to pump in, and they maintain them. There is
Okay.
an overflow on that alligator pond that just goes down to the next little street and empties into a small spot if it gets a lot of rainwater, so the alligator can't come up any higher.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Where does the water get pumped out to?
It's just a gravity drain, and my recollection is there was probably because it was done long before I was ever there, but I've been there 16 years. My understanding is that it goes to a gravel well, dry well, right there, and it probably has an overflow on it somewhere, I'm sure, but it just dissipates in the ground, to the best of my knowledge.
So it sounds like it's like a recharge area.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word I was looking for. Yes.
The other interesting thing about this property is that although Southwick Zoo is commercial, the land is 600 chapter 61 recreation. So they have a little bit more leeway with the property division. So if there is no objection, then I would go and approve the building permit and say this is not something Concom would be interested in.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay. So thanks for coming, Mike, and you can drop off or you can listen to the rest of our exciting meeting.
So just so I make sure I understood, so you guys have no applicability here or no jurisdiction because we don't see any water. Is that correct?
But
Okay.
Tomorrow or Saturday or sometime, I will go into the town website system and push the button to take the hold off. And then
Okay.
your building permit will be able to proceed. You'll have to deal with everybody else who wants to ask you questions about
Yep. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your time, gentlemen.
it. Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
And since it's the same area, I will review the two other building permits that I've been since the last meeting. There's a residential permit on 191 Providence Street. Dan Gardner, the person who's done all the work in Town Hall, is going to be replacing some windows. There is a wetlands reason in the property area. But since he's only doing work in the house, there's no heavy machinery or whatnot, there's no possible impact to
Yeah,
the property. And similarly, tip 5 Blueberry Drive, they're gonna just do deck work. There's no swamp or wetland whatsoever. But I feel that if I'm going taking action, official action on part of the Conservation Commission, it's gonna get reported on minutes. So this building permit review will be showing up on a regular basis.
All right.
Okay, 7:15, open public hearing. We once again got a request from the applicant, Kendra, we got a request from Kendra Santa Maria on behalf of the applicant to continue to our next meeting. Not August 8th, that'll be August 24. Because they are still in the process of getting their paperwork and other things in order, so there shouldn't be no. So I'll entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until their second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye-bye.
Peter? Susan?
In favor, aye.
Okay, Peter, are you able to talk now?
Peter, I.
Okay, so passes unanimously. We've completed our public hearing section. We'll now go to what you're here for, which is a
Water and sewer.
water and sewer. Municipal water and sewer project request for determination of applicability. Bring up that folder.
Well, good evening.
What's your name?
Yeah, Scott Salvucci with Woodard and Carter.
Jeff Scott Salvucci.
Scott, yes. And then we also have on the phone, Jack Hunter, who's the town planner, helping us facilitate this project. And then, two other Woodard and Carter employees, Dan Scott, our project manager, and Greg McNeil, our project engineer. So, and I have a few handouts for
Sure.
some of the discussion we had last meeting when we, just give you a little background and overview on this drawing. So there's some figures and there's a little bit of the RDA filing.
Right, what I have up on here is we're being asked today to generate paperwork for 2 parcels, one up here and one down here,
Those still the two,
the 2 town-owned ones.
Well, Carl, we're not, unless I didn't read the paperwork correctly, we're not asking for option number 2 right now.
No, just option, alternative 1 and alternative 3B, all the way down. to the
No,
bottom.
we're not doing 3B. I haven't notified the resident
Oh, okay, so you're just asking for 51 Providence Street tonight?
at the moment.
Okay, great.
And do you need me to do another overview or, I mean, we were here a couple weeks ago.
Jack, I might ask, if you think it's applicable to get this permitted and maybe approved on the town property, and then we figure out outside of that, after we have the approval to be drilling, coordinate how we might access that parcel.
So you're saying you want to ask for the approval and get permission from other people after you.
I think we want to get approval to work on the town
Right.
land,
Okay,
facilitate access to that land after.
okay, that way you would
Okay,
have,
I don't have a problem with that.
Then we wouldn't have to come back and we've already got the filings in, we're already
Okay.
here. Yeah, unless anyone sees an issue with that.
okay.
Well, let's back up a little bit. Is this concern the town? Yeah.
These are both, yeah, so we can give you an overview. Were you on the call 2 weeks ago? Maybe not then. Okay, so we can give you a quick overview, Jack. I don't know if you'd like to.
Yeah, so, for Mike at least, I don't know who else, maybe Peter. I don't know, when I started 2 years ago, there was quite a bit of, quite a few people approached me about the possibility of having public infrastructure, at least along Route 16 and along Cape Road for economic development reasons. And that there were all kinds of stories about water and towns promising it and then rejecting their promise. And stories about tests being done and et cetera, et cetera. And we were fortunate enough to get a grant for $150,000, including an earmark. And we hired, with the permission of the Board of Selectmen and the Water Commission, we hired Woodard and Curran to do phase one. And what phase one was, is to first, get an understanding of the town, what's in the town, what isn't, because as you know, there's about 150 hookups now with mostly Hopedale water. And also to visit, we visited every single abutting town to see if there was any opportunity now or in the future to partner on infrastructure. Most likely water, but we did ask about sewer too. Not surprisingly, we didn't get the best response in the world. Water's a bit like gold right now. So the last piece of their job was to do what we call a desktop analysis, look at all the soil maps, the aquifer maps, wetlands maps, and the past studies that have been done, and try to identify areas that they think most likely might have water for the possibility of developing our own public water supply. That was the end of phase one. We got another grant and another earmark from the state legislature to do phase two, and we actually got a little more money to do what we call phase 2B. And that is to actually go into, well, we had initially 4 or 5 options to go in there, do some soil samples and some drilling to see if it's a good location or not. And then, if it is, and then the selectmen will direct us as to where they want to go. So we're starting, this is kind of like the first third of phase two to start drilling, and this is the low hanging fruit. We own the property, it's fairly accessible. And of course, any site we have for possible water is going to have a wetland impact. So that's where we're here.
Am I to understand that this could lead to a well field and a treatment plant?
Depending on the quality,
Possibly.
potentially a treatment plant,
Possibly.
or right, a well field or a wellhead.
Typically a well field.
Yep.
I would believe there would have to be a treatment plant.
Potentially, iron, manganese, PFAS, whatever it might be, we will be testing the water, for
And how much water is needed? How much water has to be generated to have a workable system?
I built one in Carver. And brand new, just like this. And it was permitted at 100,000 gallons a day, and they only use probably 60 of it.
How many homes?
There are very few. There's probably 15 homes and about 30 businesses.
On the system right now?
Correct. On that system, yes.
On the Carver system or the Mendon system?
Carver.
So this could potentially be a limited source and limited, for lack of a better term, customers.
No, I thought you asked Mike about what we anticipate the water to be. I'm just giving you one example from one town.
Right, and I'm just trying to get a broad range of what's going on here. Because I don't know if you're aware of it, but I build water treatment plants for a living. I've been
Yeah.
doing it 52 years.
You don't must be designed, actually.
As far as how much.
So I feel for what's going on. Yeah.
We don't know what's in there. I think we have some suspicions, like everybody. We don't know if this is a good well site.
Ask questions. It's exploratory, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
In your mind, you've gotta, you know what you gotta have to have a workable system, whether it's for that particular area or that end of town or just that.
It's a good question. The reason this was, well, besides the fact that it's easily accessible and we own it, it's also that it's near the center of town in Route 16 where our commercial development is.
And your municipal buildings are that would like
And
to
the
be,
municipal buildings.
Yeah.
That's why.
correct.
The other options are
I understand that.
far removed.
I don't mean to sound like a naysayer or negative. Again, just trying to get all the facts I can get, so I can be thinking about it.
It's, yeah, and we're certainly in the pre-preliminary stages, right? I mean, we did phase one, like Jack mentioned. There is a report that we presented to the select board, and that's available, that's online. You could thumb through that. It gives some background on exactly what Jack said, talking to neighboring communities, looking, at some of the desktop analysis of where to maybe, how we got to this stage of, hey, let's drill in these 4 locations. And some preliminary thoughts on what could be the yield and production from a well like this, where it could go. But again, very, very early in the process. So it's tough to say, yeah.
One of the questions I asked is, what about Visco Springs up on Northbridge?
Yeah.
Historical water supply, it's too far north.
It's not necessarily near what the focus of this would be, which would be Route 16, 140, the municipal buildings. So, there's constraints and things that we were looking into. We did think about Mr. Springs.
That came up many times with the selectmen.
Yeah. So I think, what we're here to talk about today is, as Jack mentioned, there's 4 locations that came out of phase 1, 2 on public property, 2 on private property. We want to just put in RDAs in front of you for the 2 public owned sites, one of which is landlocked, and that's what we were talking about at the very beginning of, let's permit that work on the public land. We'll work with Jack and, the other entities that be within the town to potentially get a right of entry to cross somebody's property to get into that landlocked town parcel. So today we're just talking about the 2 town-owned parcels. And very simply, we're looking to limited, disturbance here, go and put in some test wells, see what we can do. Yeah, see what kind of pump test results we get, what kind of water quality we get.
So you must have some preliminary ideas of access into.
Yeah, I mean, alternative 1 seems very straightforward. It's right in the backyard of the highway department. So access through their yard, not very far. That would be kind of your second page of the handouts here. The first page kind of gives you an overview of where these 4 are. The second page is site 1, alternative 1, not very far off of the highway department's active yard. We don't anticipate much for need to access, other than maybe a little bit of trimming or brush there. So we think alternative 1 is very straightforward. Go out there, 2.5-inch well, 50 feet deep, pump testing, erosion controls for the upland area for the pump water, and about 2 cubic yards of soil that would come out as cuttings as you drill a 50-foot 2-inch, 2.5-inch well. So very minimal disturbance, and that's why we also thought that we put that in the RDA. That does meet the definition of a minor activity as CMR describes. That was appropriate to do that.
Was that the only access point?
For alternative site 1, yeah, at this time, yes. Yeah.
What about the other side?
Site 2, there's the next 2 pages. So alternative 3B, you have 2 sheets. The only difference there, if you can see, is there's green arrows we're contemplating potentially accessing through. 1 of 2 private locations that's most close to the drilling location. As Jack mentioned, we're still, kind of in the outreach stage to talk to those private property owners to just get temporary right of entry to just access across their land. No work on their land, just to access the town-owned landlocked property. There's no easements. We looked into that. If there's any easements to get to that property, there isn't. And so again, ideally just a little bit of access through existing driveways, maybe a little bit of trimming to get through what might be some upland forested area, do our drillings, and then take our test and stop. Stop at that point, and anything further, and what one of these sites might become the site based on yield and water quality, we would then come forward with you with a full NOI, full survey, full wetlands, full,
Like,
yeah.
How many homes are you hoping to supply?
We haven't gotten that far yet because it's gonna depend on what the yields look like. But really the focus is water up and down the major corridors from wherever the well is. So ideally, the highway department location's very well situated to access up to Route 16, passing municipal buildings, down to Route 140. So not a lot of residential in those areas, not, speaking towards the whole landmass of Mendon, but
Would you be connected to the two subdivisions that are in there?
that are currently connected to Hopedale or the subdivisions that you pass down Providence Street.
The subdivisions as you go down the west.
Oh, yeah.
To 140.
We'd have to see.
And my name, and Madonna, stuff like that.
I
What
don't
was
believe.
it? What was the question?
Are we looking to, how many residential areas could we
yeah,
provide service to, but we haven't.
he's
really
asking
looked that
about Amadon Road, Puffer Drive, this
Warfield.
subdivision here.
Yeah.
Oh, that's way down the road. Who knows? Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, that,
Just to get, well,
that's a
Yes.
big money issue. And then you're talking about all kinds of ways to generate that money. And I don't think this is the forum, really.
no, I'm just trying to get a sense of scope, size and scope.
It'll all depend on the yield, like, it'll depend on these tests.
Right. If you look in the phase one that's on the website, Bob, you'll see the opportunity potential with each option, I guess is the best way to put it. So
Mhm.
this one is more geared toward Route 16. The other three are more geared to Cape Road, that kind of thing.
Looks like you have a question from another commissioner.
Someone, yes, Susan, what's your question?
Oh, yeah, real quick. Did you pull any of the records from the nearby properties to see how deep their wells were and what their yields were as part of the study?
Not at this stage, no.
Oh, okay.
And in all of this, again, depending on where it is and what we see and how far we go with whichever site it might be, this will all get permitted through DEP as well, so certainly.
Oh, yeah, there's some serious stuff done then.
Yeah. Yep. So that's really the scope. It's go in there, do a few, do a test well, see what the pump tests are, do some sampling, stop, and then we assess. We regroup with, the town, the select board. We talk about next path forward and which site it might be, and then, hopefully, maybe, less than a year from now or so, we might be coming to you in front of you with a designated site with some real preliminary designs.
They did submit with their information, the two WBA forms. Unfortunately, Susan is here tonight. She got called away, so we don't actually have pieces of paper to sign. So what would happen is if we review and decide to move forward with this, then it would either get signed at our next meeting, or if you need it before then, we'll, so we'll go around and get.
We can vote to approve what they're asking for.
Right.
And then.
Yeah.
It's just a technicality.
Yeah, and we're still scheduling our drillers and, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we're still scheduling our drillers and also obviously coordinating with access to the
Yeah.
second.
Yeah, this board tends to keep its word.
Great, thank you. Yeah.
So any further questions, Susan, Peter, do you have questions about the RDA?
No more at this time. I was just curious about, the other records, but if they're not available, then that's fine. I can just tell you that, you probably won't get any good yields until you get down to around 400 feet, but who knows? At least
Well, I
not
think-
without
What you guys do,
altering that,
or
the
you do
riverway there.
people saying, you're deeper than my well,
Yeah.
Mhm.
suck all the water away from me.
Yeah.
Which is a very likely thing to do, so you'll have to do some homework.
Yeah.
Convince people that.
Yeah, and we understand it's a process. And that's why I wanted to mention DEP because that is something they
Yeah.
certainly consider.
Sure.
We
Yeah,
go through.
you mentioned also fisheries and wildlife looking for priority endangered species things.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'm going to have this as two separate motions, one for 51 Providence, second for 214 Providence.
So moved.
So let me do the first one. First one, move to approve the RDA for 51 Providence Street.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
bye-bye.
Susan, I.
Peter, I.
Passes unanimously. Next motion, approve the RDA for 214 Providence Street.
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye, Susan.
Peter, I.
It's unanimous. So, if you need the paperwork before 2 weeks from now,
Mhm.
let Susan and I know and she'll print it out, we'll go around and get signatures. Otherwise, we'll do the signature and then we leave it someplace for Jack to pick up,
Sure.
after that.
Scott, do you have a business card?
I do, yes. Okay, well, that sounds like a.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Dan, Greg.
Okay, the other thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago with Jack was mentioned affordable housing. There's no update for that, so we're passing over that as well. Okay, I know you're here for.
Am I all set, Carl?
Yes, we're all set with the property, with that. You don't have any further news on the affordable housing project? That's all
No,
I got.
but we're out to, well, we put out for requests for bids for engineers to get the access road and maybe the septic system designed and permitted. But we haven't gotten any responses yet. It's only been a few days.
Okay.
Like I said, it'll probably be October, November when we come back.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're here for 58.
Thanks, Jack.
Bedford.
Yeah.
And what are you? Okay,
We're just observing.
okay, well, since I'll now say agenda item 6, hear from Bob Sweet, the Concom Leaders Committee Task Force. Speaking tonight.
I reached out to the select board, to the Board of Health, to Lake Association.
And
I've not reached out to Dan.
Okay.
So that'll be my next phone call. Right, no,
Okay, are you going to try and have a meeting anytime this summer?
that's what we're all trying to figure out is when the first meeting is gonna happen.
What is it talking about? Sorry.
The Lake Task Force, trying to get all of what's gathering agreements and I know the class of lake and I go about it. Rules and regulation.
Making sure people living on the lake know what they are. Okay, so it's now time for you to go and get the side of the table.
Yeah.
We're now going to go to agenda item number 4. 58A Milford Street. Request by the applicant Bob's Food as well to sign off on the order of conditions for 58 Milford. And did you have some questions or you go out to the site?
What's that?
There's only one person went to the site,
Okay, who was that?
Tim.
Oh, okay.
Well, no one else went. That's wrong.
Well, we would expect him to be able to report back to the rest of us.
That's only one opinion.
Yes.
You should have three. And you're supposed to have something to look at today,
Something what?
something to look at through the pipe. Camera,
Okay, Bob,
Yes,
some talk about this?
I'm sorry, yes,
So,
yes.
Unfortunately, Tim isn't here tonight, so, we went out and did a sidewalk with you.
Tim and I spoke, we missed the first day. I'm not sure if he showed up. Of my team.
Okay, so did you meet with Tim? Okay, so we haven't had a sidewalk yet, so we should schedule that. And I think,
could be at least 2 or 3. At least
okay,
to find out what's going on
okay.
before you have this vote.
Well, since we don't have the report back from Tim.
So just to be clear, I don't plan on voting on anything tonight, until I talk to Tim.
Exactly.
And just so that you know, I respect Tim's
And I
opinion,
respect you too.
To the utmost, and
You're good.
thank you. And I haven't talked with him yet to see what's going on.
Well, you know this, you know the situation. Yeah. We agreed to put the pipe in. There was no question about not putting it in. So we got a question, it should go in. Now, if this was all signed by the town, by the lawyer, by us and by Bob, it should be no problem to put the pipe in. That's my mistake. I should have had this signed and delivered and notarized. That's my mistake. But it was different, if it was a different story, if I'd done that,
Well,
we wouldn't be here now.
well, here's
We wouldn't be here at all now.
here's my opinion. Back in last fall, we had a order of conditions saying that the pipe should be replaced.
Yep.
As the work was proceeding, the engineer, Bob Retain, made a decision that in his professional opinion, the pipe did not need to be replaced. And so what we are now having before us is to have the Conservation Commission review the requests from Bob's engineer to conduct a site walk and see whether we agree with the engineer's evaluation or not.
It's never told to me.
You are not a party to
Right.
that, so you would not necessarily be involved in the conversation between the engineer and the Conservation Commission. As an abutter, you're concerned because you're downstream from where the pipe is. But if the engineer has made a statement that it doesn't need to be replaced, and now we would have the building professionals on the Concom going and doing a review of that as well.
Well, if that's the case, we would have to have an amended.
I asked about that, Mike. I asked DEP and the DEP said there doesn't need to be an amended anything. They said if the Conservation Commission deems it to be in the interest of the project, not to be done because it caused more damage by doing it than not, then they're okay with the determination that the Conservation Commission puts forth.
And if that's an issue, I can reach out to our circuit breaker and get that.
It's probably a good idea.
Okay.
To get some things in writing as you just brought.
We wouldn't be here at all. If this was all signed by the way.
As it stands to date, I had the pipe scoped by a drain company. They send the camper down there and fund, and we're running. All that, they find nothing. It's in good shape.
Peter, Susan, do you have any questions before we continue this to our next meeting?
Not at this time.
Okay, Peter?
No, I'm good with it. We're going to schedule a site walk. Is that the intent?
Yes, we will see about having a sidewalk in which be notified when that is happening.
Can we try to do that on Tuesday when we're doing the other one anyways?
What other sidewalk on Tuesday?
The Horseman or sidewalk?
Oh, that was last Tuesday, and I will get to that part of it. I would ask, if you, as you as the homeowner can work with the other members of the commission to try and pick a suitable day that's in.
I'm there every day.
Well, then throw a dart at next week's calendar and then send out an email saying, I'd like to do the sidewalk on this day and see how many people will make it if they say they want to do different. Do you have any further comments?
No, not yet, not at this time.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue the discussion until our next meeting on August 24th.
Yes, thank you.
Is there a,
Thank you.
I'm going to move that for me. I need a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second from someone on the Zoom call?
Peter seconds.
Oh.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously with Bob recusing himself, not voting. Okay. Great. We've now finished most of the discussions. So now I start, this is the part of the meeting where I go through and talk a lot, go through the different agenda items and things. Let me bring
So
up.
continue to August 24th.
All right. Correspondence we've received in the past 2 weeks. There was a nice long email from our circuit rider at Mass CEP. The guidance on how to submit electronic and paperwork. They clarified what the applicant is supposed to submit, what the Conservation Commission is supposed to submit, how those things are supposed to be submitted, timely notification is that. Susan is taking over that work, so she's mostly going to be following up on it, but
Thank you, Susan.
Can we,
it's in your town email.
what I'm saying, what I wanted to say was, can we put together a procedure list on file, so some, hey, what do I gotta do? We can just go.
ABCD.
Yeah, I'll, as soon as we get a clerk, we want to fill up their hours and things.
You can just print out that email too. It's very helpful.
Yes.
I get the emails.
Okay, well, I'll meet with you and if necessary. We'll submit a ticket to Lonnie to get you into the Concom. All Concom members.
I have an email.
Okay.
I don't have a computer with the email on.
Okay. That's something to.
Yeah.
work on. Okay. Another correspondence at our last meeting, we spoke with Nick Hebel of Conlico about utility work being done at Colonial Estates. Tim was recommending or requesting that they put up a board at the beginning of the subdivision. The thinking at last week's, 2 weeks ago, was that they would be doing work this fall. However, Nick got back to us and said that they are not expecting it to happen until Q2 next year. So what I replied back is there's no need for a bulletin board at this time, but as soon as they actually firm up a date within 2 or 3 months, that they should put up a board and send email, postal mail to all of the butters.
Well, she gets to take it here. On neighborhood.
They don't need, because it's doing work on existing electrical utility work, they don't need to file paperwork with us, nasty, either notifying us the work is sufficient. That's all paperwork that they submit to the stuff. We corresponded with Dina Brown, a lawyer, about someone closing on a property at 35 North Avenue. We messed up the fine details on the paperwork that we were updating. Susan ran around and got an updated version. They were at the close on time. Win for everybody. And notices from Dylan about 2 ZBA hearings coming up, 35 Taft Avenue, August 17th. And just out today, 29 Hartford Avenue West. There's one for September 21st. There's no direct Concom. At this point, they're just notifying you.
It's not a conservation.
No, they're just getting an email from it. And if it ever does turn out to be a parcel that Concom would be interested in. All right, agenda item number 11, Concom vacancy status of finding vacancy conservation. I've reached out to Mike Maroli twice, one day this morning saying what the status is, response. Start being more pushy and send mail to the whole select board. Their admin is out, so she comes back from vacation.
Should they hire you for that?
For the select board?
Yeah.
Thought they were.
I don't know. I know the previous one left for the job, so.
Well, him,
Are you talking, town administrator or because Big Laura is still,
no, Laura Dupuy is still here working for the select. So she's on vacation. Her away message is she's back, and I will have an easier time finding out what the status is. The next step will be for the Concom, for the select board to have an agenda item to replace. They will notify the 2 candidates and us, and then we all go to whoever's interested goes to that meeting, participate in that discussion. Agenda item number 13, review status of hiring a new admin agent. We are making progress on this. I spoke today with both David Launch, our interim town administrator, and our new HR person whose name I can't remember. They have posted jobs for one, a clerk at a low hourly rate, who do secretarial work, and an agent at a higher hourly rate who has expertise in wetlands law and site visits and whatnot. We actually have a good candidate for one of the clerical positions, someone who has worked on in another town for their planning board, and so is familiar with the paperwork that the conservation commission does. The other thing that's going to need to happen is budgeting. So I've told David and Poppy, told via email like Maroli, there needs to be a conversation where the town administrator and the select board get together and say, how much money's in the budget? Do we hire a clerk? Do we hire someone who does clerking and agenting? Do we hire a clerk at a low rate for 10 hours and an agent for like 4 hours a week at a much higher rate, who would then be able to give us specific targeted advice, go out and do sidewalks, help us on making enforcement actions happen, things like that. So that's the progress. We're no closer to having an agent than 4 to 6 months ago, but at least now I'm having regular weekly dialogues with the hired HR person and people who are stakeholders in the hiring process. In terms of Concom finances, Well, let me do beaver trapping. Alan Tetrol has caught 4 juvenile and 1 adult beavers fighting a monkey. He thinks there's at least 1 other adult out there, but it's now far enough along that I'm going to call back tomorrow the person who reported the high water and said that he would be willing to go out and break the dam apart once most of the beavers were coming to the point. Been going and spending 3 hours up this waste water, breaking the dam, only to have to build it the next site. He sent us a bill and it's been submitted to the right people downstairs and.
How much was the bill for?
Pardon?
How much was the bill for?
Oh, I think 750 or something like that, 750 for 5 beavers and another amount for his hourly rate. I didn't remember. It's the paperwork is going to get returned to us. It'll be in the Concom mailbox probably Monday or Tuesday when we finish process.
I'd like to review it.
Okay, I'll see about getting the bill and the official sheet. And so I'm going to be checking to see if our NUSDC account membership got counted, in which case I give them your name, email, and be able to log into their stuff and so.
They actually, I wanted to talk to you about, they have a whole September schedule.
Yes.
And there's a lot of things that are on there that I'd like to go see. It's only right in Devon's.
Right.
So,
So wonderful.
so if that's a possibility and an
Oh,
option.
I'm sure we'll get your next 2 weeks. It's just a question. Because the bill got paid last week. Okay, let's see. I believe that's everything that's on the agenda.
Newer part.
Oh, manure pile.
I took a ride there today. Rode up and down three times. Kind of deceiving. What side of the street is? If you turn onto Washington Street from Route 16. What side of the street is?
Pictures that we put up there, yes. You got last meeting. There's all, leaf lettuce all around it. So, trying to see.
Well, like I said, what side of the street is? I couldn't find it. But looking at the 2 mailboxes on the same side of the road.
I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and check. I said 31 units, but I'd have to go back and take a look at correspondence to make sure it's accurate. So let me bring up. 36 Washington.
36 watch.
Right, so let's go back to here. Yeah. So the question is whether the manure, when I spoke with the applicant back in May, she indicated, the homeowner, she indicated that the manure pile was close to the buildings, but we're now hearing reports from neighbors that it's, even if it is up here, there's vegetation that looks like wetlands vegetation. So it may be
Okay, where's
here.
16? What side of? 16?
So here's 36 Street, go up this way, and it's on
So it's on the left side.
the left side. And there's the frontage here, and then the lot goes out back into here.
So it's 36.
Yep.
Okay. But it is, I'll take a better look at it.
So you can see that there are horses, and so she has a horse.
There's quite a few houses out there that are set up for horses.
Yep. Okay,
Can you zoom in to see if we can see the manure pile there?
no, this is from 2021.
Pictures from that was sent to you.
Yep, so back to. Here,
Do you know if that, the big lot,
yes,
know if that's in, 61A?
I don't. So this is someone, one of the neighbors took these pictures. Unfortunately, I don't know the directions, the context, but they're saying, here's a manure pile, here's vegetation that looks kind of wetlandish. Well, even if it is, you still wouldn't want rain.
It's different, it's different.
Yeah, it also might be right farm.
It's not in the water, it's not a pond. So, you'll see it in the picture.
No, the question is, what's it draining into, so. Back to. So, see. There's this large area that's tributary to Meadowbrook going up this way. So there's just very soggy area back here. So, do you have any questions for the audience? Okay,
I'm just watching.
okay.
Thank you.
Any
I know
other?
it's all wet there because my father owned 18 acres out there. It's all wet, right out back of that.
Okay, any other, activities since the last meeting that people want to bring up? Any items that were not anticipated in advance? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to
Adjourn. It's all moved.
I second.
move and seconded to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you very much. Stop the recording and we'll see you in 2 weeks.